The man called the world's most influential public intellectual is in the country right now speaking to tens of thousands of people in sold-out shows across Australia. Last week he spoke to a sizable group of MPs in Canberra, including the likes of Jacinta Price, Andrew Hastie and Matt Canavan. When I sat down with Dr Peterson, I began by asking, how do Conservatives effectively communicate their vision and start fighting back instead of apologising?
Yeah, well, Conservatives are pretty good at implementing. That's their strength, even on the temperamental side. But on the vision front, they're not that good. And that's partly what even makes them conservative, because if you're a conservative, you don't need a vision in some sense, because what you tend to do is walk the tried and true path. And in some sense, that's a replacement for a vision, or it's a traditional vision. And the disadvantage you have, I would say, on that front is that when people push you in relationship to your traditional vision, you may not be able to articulate it well. So someone might object to someone who's conservative. It's like, well, defend marriage. It's like, well, people think, well, I thought we already agreed on that. I don't know how to defend that. It's an institution that's been around for all intents and purposes forever. It's part of the general consensus of value. Even to articulate it to that degree is rare. And so conservatives are often taken aback, especially when those questions are also accompanied by a moral accusation. Like, well, you know, it's nothing but a patriarchal institution. And it's also easy to make conservatives feel guilty because they're conscientious. Yeah. And so if you tell a conservative, you're not doing your duty, they think, oh, well, I'm not. I'm trying to do my duty.
But the Conservatives have for a long time almost vacated the field when it comes to the so-called culture wars. And we have seen the left's march. It's not just through academia anymore. It's in private institutions. It's in corporations, Hollywood. So is it far too advanced for there to be a correction or a reversal?
No, there will eventually be a reversal. The question is, how much intervening damage are we willing to sustain before that correction occurs? And the answer is, you know, people say, well, the pendulum swings back. It's like, yeah, sometimes when it swings back, it has razor's edge. And it takes a lot of people with it when it's swinging. You know, Venezuela will eventually correct course, but how many people will die as a consequence? So that's not a useful solution. What's the solution? Do you have something to say that you're not saying? If you do, then it's your fault. This is your fault. It's your problem. And you might say, well, I'm too afraid to talk. It's like, fair enough. How afraid are you not to talk? You know, people say to me frequently, they compliment me on my bravery. And I think, you don't understand. I'm not brave. I don't like conflict. I'm way more afraid of losing control of my tongue than I am of the consequences of saying what I have to say. Because I know what happens when we allow other people to control our tongues. It's not good. It's not good. It's hell itself. And so, of course, it's troublesome to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune when you say what you have to say. It's like, that's fine. Try not saying what you have to say. Well, that'll be okay in the moment. It's like, yeah, in the moment. But unfortunately, your whole life isn't in the moment.
No, but you can understand. Like, I think I can understand why people still hesitate, whether there's someone with profile or someone who's just on a Facebook page and they don't want to state even a very mainstream opinion that's not progressive, because there's a real cost there. And is the cost worth saying what you feel?
Yeah, well, that's one of the fundamental questions of life. Is that, well, so we have a sense in the West, there's a doctrine in the West, very central doctrine. It's associated with the idea of logos and the divine word. The truth will set you free. Well, true or false? You might say, well, if I say the truth, I'm going to get into trouble. Fair enough, but if you abide by the lie, you're also going to get into trouble. And so one of the things you can do instantly is disabuse yourself of the notion that there's a zero trouble pathway. It's like, you're in trouble both ways, like real trouble. You get to pick your trouble. That's all you've got. I have been struck by the degree to which the vision on the centrist front is not neither compelling nor coherent. It's not, especially in the face of this tremendously pointed accusatory assault. It's all about power. And the only reason you don't see that is because of your privilege. It's like, well, you have privilege. I mean, you're in a good position. Do you not have privilege? Well, what do you mean privilege exactly? Did you earn it? Well, can you even earn privilege? Is there such a thing as earning it? Well, these are all questions that have been thrown up by people who are subsidized to do nothing but cause trouble as a consequence of their envy